Parshas AchreiMos Kedoshim. I remember a while back, one of my friends became an ovel. His father was nifta. His father was a big tzaddik. And I went to the funeral, and my friend, who was mourning for his father, was speaking about his father's greatness. And he mentioned one thing that stuck with me all these years. He said that his father said to him, called him his name, Yechiel, du meinst Leshem Shamayim. My friend has a yeshiva, he's a Rosh Yeshiva, and his father said to him, and this is what he said over at the funeral, Yechiel, my son, do you mean Leshem Shamayim? Meaning to say that Yechiel has a yeshiva, and when you have a yeshiva, you get certain amount of honor, and are you doing it for the honor, or are you doing it for the sake of heaven, to be marbitz Torah, to spread Torah, to develop Talmidim? But his father was such a person that understood that it's not easy to do things Leshem Shamayim for the sake of heaven. And I was thinking to myself that, maybe in our generation it's very hard to do things Leshem Shamayim. But could you imagine in the previous generation, Reb Moshe Feinstein, Zechat Tzadik Levracha, the great Reb Moshe Feinstein, who answered Shilas, who was such a posek, and the whole world sent him Shilas, and he was able to answer them, and guide people, and lead people. Did he have to also worry about doing things L'Shem Shamayim? Or since he was so great, even though he had a lot of kavod from it, and he had honor, and people came to him, but he was probably too great to let all these things stop him from serving Hashem correctly. I mean, to do it not for any honor, only to help people, not for any honor for himself. I would think maybe in the at the funeral when I heard that the father said, Yechiel, du meinst L'Shem Shamayim, do you mean L'Shem Shamayim? I thought maybe if it's our generation, but maybe the previous generation, when you had such geniuses and such great goyim like Reb Moshe Feinstein, even though I could hear that maybe he meant a little bit for himself, but I would say that no, he was too big. He was too big to mean anything for himself, but to do it only L'Shem Shamayim. That's what I was thinking. But when I come to today's parsha, AchreiMos, I see that even greater people than Reb Moshe Feinstein had to worry if they were doing things L'Shem Shamayim. It says in the Torah, in Parshas AchreiMos, it says that Aaron was being taught. Aaron was being told the service of Yom Kippur. And Aaron was being told, Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe, and Vayemer Hashem al Moshe, Daber el Aaron Achicha. Hashem said to Moshe, speak to your brother Aaron, all kind of halachas of Yom Kippur, and also all the karbonos, all the sacrifices and offerings that he has to bring, and also all the holy garments, the Bigdei Kodesh that he had to wear when he performed all the service. And then at the end, toward the end of that parsha, in Bereshis, in Vayikra Tes Zayin, Pasuk Lamed Dalet, the Pasuk says, Vayas kasher tzivu Hashem es Moshe. Aaron did as Hashem commanded Moshe. He brought all the karbanos, and he wore the holy garments, the Big Day Kodesh, and he did what he was supposed to do. Comes along Rashi, and Rashi says, Ulahagid shivchoi shel Aaron. The Torah here is coming to tell us the praise of Aaron, the greatness of Aaron. Shaloi hoya loivshon ligdulosai. Rashi says, he didn't wear the holy garments for his own greatness. Yeah, put on Big Day Kodesh, you put on holy garments, you're doing it for yourself, feel so great, He didn't do it for that. He didn't do it for that. He only did it, he had nothing in it for himself. He did it totally Leshem Shamayim. Elokemakayim Gezeres HaMelech, but as one who fulfills the degree of the king. So it seems that I might have thought that Aaron didn't do it L'Shem Shamayim. I might have thought that he didn't wear the holy garments for the sacred purpose of doing the service of Hashem. But he had a little greatness, he had a little hanoah, a little pleasure out of it, wearing those beautiful holy garments. That's what I might have thought. So the Torah says no. Aaron did kashet tzivu Hashem es Moshe. Everything was totally L'Shem Shamayim. Everything, there was nothing in there for himself. That's what Rashi seems to be saying. And the question is, Gewalt. The question is, how can we think that Aaron didn't do it L'Shem Shamayim? How could we think that if the Torah wouldn't tell us that Aaron did everything L'Shem Shamayim, he was selfless, he didn't mean anything in it for himself? The Torah has to tell us that, because if not, if the Torah wouldn't have told us that, we would think that even by Aaron, even by the holy Aaron, he might be doing it, he might be wearing the garments for his own honor. How could we think such a thing? Don't we know who Aaron was? Aaron was a tremendously humble human being. He rejoiced when Moshe Rabbeinu was given over the position to be the leader of Klal Yisrael, even though he himself was the leader of Klal Yisrael for 80 years before that. And now the Rebbeinu Shalom wants his younger brother Moshe to take over the reins, that he should be the leader now of Klal Yisrael. And he rejoiced, he was so happy for his brother, for his younger brother who was privileged, now was privileged to become the leader of Klal Yisrael. His humility was like unbelievable humility. So how could we think over here that Aaron was wearing the Big Day Kahuna for his own honor, for his own gedulosai, for his own greatness? How could we think about that? How could we think such a thing? He was the humblest, the most humble person in the world, to be able to be happy at to rejoice at his younger brothers taking over and becoming the leader of Klal Yisrael. He was full of humility. So how could we think that he would be wearing the Big Day Kahuna, the holy sacred vestments of the Kahuna for his own self? How could we think that? But apparently we see, and also furthermore, This was the first time now that he was doing the Avodah. The first time he was going into the Holy of Holies, into the Kodesh Kodashim, and he knew that the entire Klal Yisrael depended on his prayers. And he would be coming in and say, oh, look at the garments I'm wearing. How could we think that he would be such a person that lacks humility? How could we think that? But apparently we see from here that you could be a Moshe Feinstein, let's say, where he's genius in Torah, he knows everything, and the whole world is coming on to him. He could mean for his own self a little bit, because we find even by Aaron HaKohen, the most humble of all human beings, doing the Avodah the first time in the Holy of Holies, he might have some arrogance in him to some degree. The fact that you're very humble is no proof, is no raya that you're not going to have any geus, any arrogance in you. Person has to always be careful. He could be a person that rejoices at the greatness of his brother, so humble. He could be a person like that, and still have some gaiva in him, some self, some reason for self. So hard to do things Leshem Shamayim. Even an Aaron HaKohen we might have thought that he can do things. He can do things with self in mind, not Leshem Shamayim. So perhaps this should maybe inspire us that we have to serve Hashem totally for the sake of heaven. Nothing for me in it. Nothing whatsoever for me. Totally Leshem Shamayim. It's not easy, because even Aaron HaKohen, the most humble of all human beings, could have. He didn't. The Torah has to testify. The Torah has to testify that he did exactly the way he was supposed to. It was totally Leshem Shamayim. But even an Aaron HaKohen, the Torah has to tell us this. If the Torah wouldn't tell us this, we might think that even he, the most humble of all human beings, might have some arrogance within him, might be doing it for himself. So this is something that we should maybe be inspired, that we have to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu totally, nothing in it for ourselves, zero. The Meshech Chochmah says that when Aaron put on the Bigdei Kahuna, it was as if somebody else was wearing these holy clothes, not him. So nothing did he have out of it for himself. And that's what the Torah is telling us. He did, Kashet Tziva Es Moshe, Lahagid, Rashi says, Lahagid Shivchei Shel Aaron, to tell the praise of Aaron that he didn't wear it for himself. If the Torah wouldn't have told us this, we might think even an Aaron could do things for himself, could serve Hashem, but mean himself too. We should learn from here how that everything must be done Leshem Shamayim. We must serve Hashem totally, not for ourselves at all. Nothing, we should get nothing out of it, only for Hashem. We should be zeicher to this. Amen v'yamen.